Fellas, are you still powdering your balls? You know you don't need to, right? If you want to keep your fellas feeling cool and dry all day and reduce chafing, then you need to get yourself the Crop Preserver. The 24-hour non-powder moisturizer and deodorant was designed for your butt, balls, and body. Boasting active pH control, anti-chafing, quick absorbing, and made in the beautiful US of A. Head over to manscaped.com and get yourself the Crop Preserver. Your balls will thank you.
But LeVert, right? $17 million a year. Yeah. And obviously a player on the rise, right, for New Jersey. Yeah. That was for you.
Playing in Newark,
dude. I'm just
Brendan
like
Byrne Arena.
I'm milking it. I'm like, we're gonna make time out of this, baby. Yeah, but yeah, he's a player that's, was really he was on a fast track, gets an injury, and then yet they still lock him up to an extension at 17.5. So we have to talk a little bit about what's that mean for Jaylen Brown, and his extension, and what would be a fair price. I think people feel like maybe LeVert's upside was more proven and more there, although he got more minutes and more opportunity. And so maybe the holes in the game close a little bit quicker. People don't see it as much. The playmaking for Brown is continuing to be the center of the discussion about whether or not you give him, significant money. But does this reset the number to 20 million? Who knows? So we need to talk about that. And then I think we could talk a little bit about Team USA. But at the end of the day, this show is about the fan experience. And that's how we get through the offseason, right? Is the roller coaster ride that it is to be a fan. And so one thing I will say is my fandom has been almost entirely, for a while, but not completely, but very much built around my support of Jaylen Brown. And I did sour on him a little bit. There was a stretch, not like Marcus Smart, who has turned out to be, he's the captain now, right? He's 25,
Captain
still
America.
Very young. He's Captain America.
Yeah.
Yep. And so that speaks volumes, though, about, where he's at. And even inside of the Celtics locker room, people talked about that. And my dad was visiting this weekend, and the dad head.
The dad head.
And he said, that really surprises me because I've always seen Marcus Smart as volatile. And I said, he's in one incident pre-college, right? It was pre-college, right? That was a high school incident. And then he has, the punching the picture frame in the hotel, hallway or whatever it was. And certainly I got really, really down on him during that stretch. Very frustrated.
I remember.
Yep. That was
you
a
were
low.
pretty much trading for a bag of balls
out
at
the
that
door.
point.
Out the door.
Yep.
Don't like him. But you know what? He, for the most part, he really has matured nicely. He's 25. And everybody inside that locker room, and I don't mean Team USA, I mean reports from the Celtics organization, although it's being reinforced as he's become Captain USA. So the fact is, the guy's a leader, and he's a young leader, and this is somebody that signed for a reasonable extension. So going back to Jaylen Brown, big part of me was like, I feel like I'm the only guy who wants us to draft him, and I wanted to draft him all this time. And now there's like these limitations. I just want him to prove himself this year. Just prove himself, please, right? But Marcus Smart took a little bit of a rebate, right? Maybe not a huge one, but was definitely market value. Hard telling. I'm kind of looking for Jaylen to do the same thing. Let this young group of players. Now, I'm not saying to do the same amount as Marcus Smart. You know what I mean? But and we don't really have any reports that the Celtics have offered it any kind of extension. But if they offer $20 million for what, 3 years, 4 years?
Yeah,
I mean, the argument around LeVert is that he's still like 28 or whatever. Is $20 million the max?
No.
It's not.
Almost $30 million.
That's what I thought for a player because he was drafted high enough, right?
Right.
That's part of it. So at the end of the day, like, if he took if they offered 21 million, I'd actually be disappointed if he didn't take it if they were willing to commit to him now, in terms of the max number of years. And he would still be up for a huge deal at the end of that contract. He'd be young enough and it would still work out.
I think if there was a 5-year, $20 million deal on the table, I think the Celtics would entertain that, and I think he should take it. I know the market's tight, and he should benefit for possibly even a max deal. It probably doesn't make much sense for him to do that at this point to get the maximum amount of money. And look at what's on the table for him next summer. It's foolish for him probably to even consider it. Having said that, though, Marcus Smart was in a very different situation when he entered his restricted free agency. The money was tight. There wasn't a whole lot of money out there, and there were no takers, and so the Celtics really were bidding against themselves to even give him 13 million. I don't think that's going to be the case with Jaylen. Now, Jaylen has, I think, more question marks than I think us as Celtics fans would probably suggest. While we see him as somebody who
But
has
it's that
potential as a
athleticism.
third player,
That's
yeah,
why that's why
feel.
teams will get excited. To
That's
your
right,
point,
right.
that's why teams will get excited.
But his lack of feel, as someone who's seen him, for 4 years, we know that that's a problem for him, and why he's not a max player. Why you're even questioning why you're not signing him right now. So, I would love to see him return. I don't think the timing's right. It doesn't seem like he's going to back down from what he should think that he's worth. And I think he doesn't have an agent. And then Smart is, I think Smart was just in a very different spot. And obviously he went to restricted free agency, found no offers, and then came in with a reasonable offer. So I hope it happens. I mean, I like Jaylen, and one thing that should be added, and not to pivot right now, but what Team USA is doing is they're playing him at the 4. This is what, remember coming in when Jaylen came in, there was a lot of talk that maybe he's a 4. He's a power forward, a small ball power
In today's
forward.
NBA, I mean, that's
And
how
so
Danny's been looking at all of these long threes. Remember, like that
he,
was a conversation with Hakeem Warwick back in the
sure.
mid 2000s.
But
Was
he doesn't have the length of Warwick, but his lack of feel
no, but he has
isn't
more strength. He has
sure, but
more strength.
he
So
lacks but not having that feel isn't an issue at the 4. Not
absolutely.
not being this, secondary playmaker or tertiary playmaker isn't nearly the big deal at the 4 as it is at the 2. If he's your 2 and you're sharing the floor with another guy at that 4 spot who doesn't have playmaking abilities,
So does
well,
Hayward
now you're in
rotate
trouble.
into the 2 then? Like we've talked about these like weird lineups and everything, right?
Right.
So now you've got Kemba, and you could actually put Smart maybe at the 2, and maybe Hayward's still coming off the bench, or do you put Hayward at the 2 and put Tatum at the 3? Because even Tatum's floated to the 4, but I think Tatum as a scorer and the playmaker, to what we just said a little bit earlier in the first half, he could definitely be the playmaker at the 3, and then Jaylen goes to the 4, and that whole thing is switchable even with Smart or Hayward. Doesn't even matter.